everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to look at arrays. Okay, so arrays in JavaScript are very powerful data type that we are going to find very interesting to use, and is actually among the most used data types in JavaScript. So you will see that in our day life or during day-to-day life, how we handle things, we'll be dealing with arrays, more especially when you are fetching data from API, when you are doing most of your tasks, even when you are doing DOM manipulation. Most of the times you are going to be dealing with arrays or iterable objects that can be easily converted into an array. So arrays are very important, and knowing how to deal with the arrays, manipulating arrays is very important task in JavaScript. So in today's video we are going to break down the arrays, and we dive into deeper concepts in arrays, and we see how we can use them to apply them and get those concepts about them. So in a brief, an array is used to store a collection of data. So it can be data of different types, it can be data of the same type, and all of it can actually go into an array. So we are going to see how we are going to be dealing with some different data types, and we are going to do a lot of examples so that you can easily understand these concepts. So JavaScript arrays. So how do we know that this is an array? So a pair of brackets, square brackets, represents an array in JavaScript. So wherever you see data enclosed inside square brackets, I repeat, wherever you see data enclosed in square brackets in JavaScript, that one defines an array. So all elements in an array are comma separated, and you're going to see that all the elements you put in an array you have to separate with a comma. So arrays can be a collection of elements of any type. This means that you can create an array with elements ranging from strings, booleans, numbers, objects, and even other arrays. You can even put another array inside an array. I guess that one sounds very crazy, but yeah, that's how it is. It can contain data of all types. So here let's see an example of an array containing 4 elements of different types. So for instance, I have here a variable called mixed type array, and you can see my array is enclosed inside actually a brackets, is inside a bracket, and it has some items inside, and the first item is 100, true, this is hub, and this object. So this one is to show that it can actually store data of all types, whether it is an object, whether it is a string or is a boolean or a number. They can all be stored in an array. So the position of an element in an array is what is called an index. So we have seen indices, or we have seen about the index concept in strings. It actually excuse me, it also applies actually in arrays. So if you look at these positions that items occupy in an array, they are called indexes or indices, or that position is called an index. So the array index starts from 0, as you know, as we had said. So arrays are 0 based, so I mean that the first item here actually occupies the index of 0, and true 1, this is hub 2, like that. And I went ahead, I tried to demonstrate it here. where 100 occupies position 0, or it is at position 0. True is at position 1. This is hub is at position 2, and this object is at position 3. This is going to be very important. Moving onwards, we are going to be seeing how this concept of indices is going to be so much used to manipulate these arrays. So in the above example, you can set the element 100 is at index 0, true at 1, and this is hub. I guess this one is just see. Just see, this is hub here, not free code account. This is hub. Okay, is at index 2, and so on. Okay, so now as we have seen the indexes, now let's look at the number of items. So you can see that right now an array is containing actually 4 items, and the number of items contained in an array is what we call its length. So you can see the number of elements in an array determines its length. For example, the length of the above array is 4 because it contains 4 items. So the number of items in an array is what we call its length. So we're going to be referring to that most of the times, saying length every time, length of an array, but we always mean the number of items inside that array. So we can even just go details. For instance, if you have an array called daily activities, and you have 2 activities like eat, sleep. So if you want to check the length of this array, we can still use the length method on arrays. And I remember, you guys remember very well, when we were talking about strings, we actually use the same method to access the number of characters in a string. It is the same thing here. Using the length, you can access the number of items inside an array using the length method. Why don't we give it a try actually in VS Code? So I have already created my folder this time, intro to JS lesson 6. I'm just going to create 2 files. The first one is going to be index.html. okay, the second one is going to be app.js. okay, so that is great. So go ahead and say shift 1 and get that the template is saying it is loading. Give it a minute, and it is here. Okay, so just go in here in the head. Let's put script and app.js, and let's go ahead and put the defer keyword here, and here we're going to put maybe h1, and we're going to say introduction to JS. Today we are looking at arrays, and by the way, we're going to look at arrays and loops. So if time allows, we are going to look at loops. Before we go to advanced arrays, we might actually look at loops because they will be used so much. So before we go to advanced array or array methods, we might first actually look at loops. Okay, that is great. So this is, we can go ahead and test our JavaScript, and I can just use a function in a built-in function alert, and I say it's working. Okay, so those ones who don't know what alert means, we had seen prompt. So there are 3 methods. There is one called prompt. So if you say prompt, what is your name? I know people are familiar with this one. What is your name. Okay, people are familiar with that one. And the second one is alert, and the third one is confirm. And we can also say, are you going to attend the party? Are you going to attend the party? Okay, so there are 3 JavaScript interaction in-built-in functions. You can interact with the user in these different ways. Okay, so but really what they do, prompt asks like a user some question, and it will prompt the user with somewhere where to type. So the difference between this one and the confirm is that in this case of prompt, it will ask actually and give you the input box, okay, and where you can type your answer, or you can type anything. And then alert is just only showing this message, is not doing or asking anything, is simply alerting, or is just like the same as console.log. So if we put it's working, is actually the same as like console.log. Not the console.log displays this message on the console, but this one displays the message in the browser. And then the last one, which is confirm, this one only gives you only two options. Either, I think it only gives you only one option, which is like okay. I don't think it gives you no or yes, but it always just like asks you, it only receives answer like no or yes, whereby you can cancel. So if we right now we go and run this index, open with live server like so. Sorry for diverting, but I feel like I should talk about these ones if we are going to be using them in most of the times. So instead of consoling, we can also do alert, so that you can see how. So you can see, like for instance, this is now the prompt. So prompt, you see, it gives you a space where type in what's your name, and I can say Moke JP. So you can see I can type in my name like so, and then you see that this one now, it is the alert. You see, just only display the message in the browser, doesn't do anything, and it gives you what to say okay. That is great. And now this one, are you going to attend the party? It gives you a nice place whereby you can say okay or cancel, and if you say okay, it returns true. If you say cancel, it returns false. Okay, that's great. Okay, so that is great. Looking at those ones as we are opening our arrays. Okay, so I'm just going to go and I will simply borrow them, comment them. So let me just write here arrays like so. So we had const. What were we looking at? Let me first look at that. So we're having daily activities. So const daily activities, and you can just look at them, and you have, for instance, eat, and then you have another one, sleep. Okay, so you have eat and sleep, as simple as that. So if you wanted to know the number of items inside an array, of course here we can say there are 2 items, but if you wanted to programmatically understand how many items inside here, we said we can use the length method on the arrays. Okay, so let's just try to get this length. So if I say console.log daily activities, and I say dot length, okay, dot length, if we go to the browser, you can see it is consoling actually 2 items. Okay, So these two items is as a result of just counting these items inside an array. Okay, thank you so much. We are doing great at this point. By the way, if you are liking these kind of videos, please be sure to subscribe, like the videos, and share with others so that you can grow and support the channel. Yeah, so that we can learn together and build beautiful things for the web. Okay, so we have seen about the length of an array, so let's move on. So how do we create an array in the first place? We have already created an array just to explain the length, but really there are a number of ways to create arrays in JavaScript, but the most used ones are these two methods. The first one is when you just assign an array into a variable, and we just normally call it like is using array retros. So if you use just assigning a variable, any variable to this pair of these square brackets, that is what we mean by assigning an array to a variable. And the second one is where we use this constructor. So we can just look at all those two methods whereby we can use the array constructor and we can use this. So in the first place, you can see the one of using this array constructor. You can not array constructor, but using the assigning an array to a variable. So you can see the activities, we assigned it to this array by specifying these square brackets. Okay, so you must specify the square brackets, and then the items inside you can separate them with commas. So you can go ahead, for instance, add in more items, for instance, working out, like so you can add in as many items as you want. And now we can actually come here and we console.log date activities, and you can see that this array is here, and you see nicely in the console it actually spreads it very well, whereby they give you in the bracket the number of items, the length, and then they go ahead and give you the array how it looks like. And you can even click here and you look at even the positions these items are occupying. So you can see at position 0 you have it, position 1 sleep, and position 2 working out, and they go ahead and they give you the length. Even when you have not even asked for it, they will specify the length of an array. Okay, so that is great. So the second way is using constructor. So const we can just say array is equal to new array. Okay, new array. So that's why we normally say arrays are objects, but you can see this is a constructor, array constructor. We'll talk about constructors maybe in future videos. Okay, but for now, just put here the items you want to put in the array. So let's say, for instance, cooking, okay, coding, and we can just go ahead and also put like a number, like 3, as simple as that. And let's do console.log array. Okay, so let's just console this one, like so, in the console, and you can see it has also created an array with 3 items, cooking, coding, and 3, and we did not use the square brackets. We used this constructor method. So this one is what they call a constructor. Okay, using the built-in array constructor or array object that takes in the number of items in this format. Okay, So that is great, knowing how to create an array. And in most of the cases we'll be using this simple one, the first one. We'll not be using this constructor, but I wanted to let you know it exists and you can create. In some circumstances you might want to initiate an array using this method. Okay, so next let's continue seeing some of the interesting things we can do with arrays. And one of the most tasks we can do with arrays is we can access an item in array. We can do some manipulations on that item. So we are going to first look at how do I add an item, how do I get access to an item, how do I remove an item in an array, and many other things that we are going to look at. So the simple one, let's first see how to access and retrieve an element from an array. So the easiest way to access an element in an array is using its index. So remember, we know the index of each items in an array. So you can imagine I have here an array called salad, and it has all these salads like the tomatoes, mushroom, and these other, all these, one is carrot, avocado, and so you can access an item at a particular index using that index. So you can see using this square bracket notation, we normally call it a square bracket notation or the square bracket syntax, whereby you put the name of array and then you put square brackets and then you access an element at that index. Okay, so let me try to copy this array. Okay, you can copy this array. So those ones who are wondering how you can type in the emojis, so if you don't know how to type in emojis, it is on Windows, it is the window button and then dot. So it is the window button. The shortcut is window button plus dot. So just place the window button. This is the window button plus the dot. So if you do so, it will pop up. It will bring a pop-up of these emojis, and you can choose the emoji that you want. Okay, they might not give you all of them, but they will give you some that you can use. Okay, great. So we have here our salad and is containing all these items. Okay, so if you wanted to access like the first item in the array, we could just say console.log, and for instance we could just say salad. So salad is the array, and then we could use the square brackets to access an item at the first position. Okay, because we said at this is position or this is index 0, so you can get the item at this index 0 using this notation. We could even go ahead and maybe put this in so we could just say first item const first item const first item or first salad, and we could just say it is salad at position or index 0. So if you now console.log this first item, if you go to the console, you see that it is actually the tomato. Okay, so this is great. Let me first also comment out these data activities. So this is how we access items in an array using this notation. Okay, so you can just go ahead and put, for instance, 4 here, and be sure to put the item that exists 1, 2, 3, 4, and is going to print out a cucumber. Is it a cucumber or maize? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a maize. Okay, so that is great. So you can use this notation to access different items in an array. Okay, thank you so much for keeping up to this point. You are doing so well. So let's move on and see next. So the next method of accessing actually an element is using a loop. So we are going to look at loops in a minute. So I'm not going to talk about this one, but we'll discuss the loop not in the next video, actually in the next minute or in the coming time. So we are going to discuss in the near future. Yeah, so we are going to discuss in this very video, we're going to discuss about loops. So you shouldn't get scared, but it's one of the methods that we can use to access an element inside an array. Okay, so great. So let's just move on. We look at loops in a minute. Let's continue and see other things. So another item or another task we can do on arrays is adding an element to an array. So how do I add an element into an array? So you can use the built-in method push and unshift to add elements to an array. So we are starting to see some of actually methods we have already started using some of the array methods. So we of course have the advanced array methods to look at them, but these ones we are looking at actually simple ones that we can use easily. So the first they have two methods that can do that. The first one is the push method, which adds an element at the end of an array, and then we have also another one called unshift method, which adds an element at the beginning of an array. So these are just like the two methods we have, and let's jump into them and see what we can do with them. So I'm just going to go back to VS Code here, and let's just go here where we say adding items in an array. Okay, so we still have these daily activities. So if you just console.log right now, daily activities here, let me console.log and let me just put off this salad here. So if you console.log daily activities, we still have three items inside: the eat, sleep, and working out. So we can add other items inside here, and the first method we are going to look of adding items is using the push method. Okay, so number one is the push, using the push method. Okay, so you simply get access to daily activities and you just call that method push, and then inside here you can put the item you want to push. So for instance, coding. So you can just push coding inside an array, and you're going to be using this method a lot in the future, like adding this item into an array at the end. So this method adds, let me just put here, adds an item at the end of an array, So that is the difference between it and the unshift method. So this one adds an item at the end of an array. So when you do this, and now let's console.log daily activities, and you can see one item has been added at the end, which is coding. So you can go ahead and add as many items as possible. So if you go down in here and add another one, maybe let's say cooking. I think we would have cooking, so let's go for let's say just reading. Okay, like so. And now we have 5 items in the array, and you can see even their positions at this point. Okay, So this is great. So you can use this method, the push method, to add an item at the end of an array. Okay, so let's just look at another method, which is the second method, which is unshift. Unshift method, it adds an item not at the end but the beginning of an array. Okay, so this is great. So let's just do unshift sum. And the name unshift, at first when I had this name unshift, it seems like it is removing an item, but actually it adds an item. I don't know why they called it unshift, but I think they guess like it shifts it to the beginning or something like that. But shift removes an item. If you just use shift, it removes an item, but unshift actually adds an item. So you could just say daily activities, and we can, instead of using push, we can use unshift. Okay, and unshift, let's just put another one, for instance jogging. Okay, so let's just now console.log daily activities, and now you can see there are 6, and jogging goes to the first position. Okay, so you can see in position 0 is we are having jogging. Okay, so if you add another one, okay, so if you come here and duplicate this, and let's add another one, maybe let's say praying, whatever, but we're adding praying. And now if you check in our method, you see praying actually comes in the 0 position, or as the first index. So clearly unshift is adding these items in the first position. Okay, so good. So you now know how to add items, you know how to access items in an array, you know how to add an item in an array. And let's move on and look at other things you can do with arrays. So another one is change the elements of an array. So you can change an element, or you can modify an element in the array. So for instance, we have our, you remember this data activities, and this data activities array is having 2 items maybe at this point. So we can just target, we know how to access an item at a particular index. So you can say daily activities, and you say at position or at index 2, and you say it is equal to exercise. And if you do this, and by the way, this is very interesting, we did not also talk about it, but it can modify, or it will add an item if that position does not exist. I want to repeat that statement. So if, let me just access this, I think the highlighter. So if you see, we have position 0 and 1. Okay, so if here you try to access 2, which is not existing, if you look at this point here, it is not yet existing. Data activities at index 2, if you say is equal to exercises, so what this will do, it will check if this index 2 exists here, and if it exists, it will modify that value at index 2, and it makes it that figure or that value. But if that position or the index does not exist, what it will do, it will create it there. Okay, so let's demonstrate that. Okay, let's demonstrate. I'm just going to discard that. So let's demonstrate that in VS Code. So right now we have actually how many items? We have 7 items. Okay, so we have 7 items so far. So let's try to access items. For instance, let's try to see at position 1. So in the first position here we have praying, and in the last position we have reading. So I can't just say, you can see at position 0 I have praying. So I want to change this one from praying to praising. So if I do this, so let me just say here, changing or modifying an item in an array. So let's use the property access syntax. So you could just say, for instance, daily activities. This one gives you are accessing the daily activities array, and you could access an item at position 0 or at index 0, and at index 0 we are having praying. So if I say is equal to, I change it to praising. So let me change it to praise, just like that. And let's go ahead and console.log our daily activities array, and you can see that this item has been modified from praying to praise. Okay, so that is great, and this is how you can modify. You simply access the item using the square bracket syntax, and then you put the value you want to replace or you want to modify that item. As simple as that. But what is very interesting is that we are not only just modifying, is that if this position does not exist, it will create a new one. So for instance, let's see where our positions stop. So we have indices from 0 up to 6. So clearly 7 does not exist. So index 7 does not exist. So let's try to modify something at position 7. So put 7 here. And let's put dancing. And now when we console.log daily activities in the browser, you will see that it has created dancing instead. Okay, so you can see at position 7 it has created dancing. Okay, so this is also one way of creating an item. You can still use this method of property access method or syntax, whereby you can use square brackets at a position that does not exist and you create it there. So if it exists, it modifies it. If it doesn't exist, it actually creates it there. Okay, that is great. Let's continue. So next, so here you can suppose an array has 2 elements. If you try to add an element at index 3, okay, the first element, the third item will be undefined. So for instance, if you jumped an index, for instance, where we have 0 and 1, so if you come and say daily activities at 2, you give it exercise. This one adds an element at this position. But if you jumped and added at index, I think maybe we did it, I think. But if we tried to put an item, so here, instead of defining at this position 7, let's put position 8 instead. So now, let's console.log an item at position 7. So you clearly see that position 7 we don't have it, but we have position 8, which is dancing. So if you console.log an item at position 7 in the browser, it will give you an undefined, that item does not exist. You get it will tell you that this item does not exist. So this is what I was meaning actually in this slide here. Okay, great. I think here this one needs maybe to be modified. Okay, I will modify that one. So if you have the activities with these two items, this will add. So if you do this here, it adds an item. So just add it at position 3, maybe position index 3 is here, and that means that if you console.log at position 2, this one should give you an undefined. Okay, so great. That is the modification I wanted to make to fit in this scenario here. So let's move on, and we see how do we remove an element actually from an array. Okay, so you can use there are also two methods. There are two methods, and the first method is the pop method, which removes the last element from an array. And the pop method also returns the removed value. So returns the returned value or the removed value. So for example, if you have daily activities, work, eat, sleep, and exercise, so you can remove the last element using the pop. And to remind you, you don't have to pass anything inside the pop method. Simply call the pop, and it's just going to pop out, or is going to remove the last item in an array. And if you go ahead and now check, they are reduced. So the pop method is used to do that, and you can actually also access that removed item if you want it. So for instance, let's put back this one at 7. So if we wanted, we could just say pop. So daily activities, wait a minute, let's put here a subheading, removing an item from an array. Okay, so down here we will say daily activities. So daily activities is having all our items, or is an array containing all our items. So we could just say dot pop, as simple as that. And you don't need to pass anything inside this method. Just simply do pop, and if you come down here and you console.log now daily activities, not at position 7, just doing daily activities, and if you go to the console now, you will see that now we have actually 7 items. And if you you check, the last one was if you remember very well, the last one was dancing at index 7, and it is not there right now. If we went ahead and do another pop, so let's just continue, like to do another pop like so. You see now another item is gone. Right now we are having 6. Okay, the one that was at position 6 is gone. Okay, and the beauty with the pop method is that you can actually store the removed item. For instance, if you wanted to access the item that has been removed item, so if I put this and let's console.log the removed item here, we can just go ahead and also look at this removed item, and it will tell you which item was removed, and you can see it is dancing. And down here we can also console.log daily daily activities like so. So we can look at the removed item, which is dancing, and we can also look at the array now that is existing, and you can see the position 7, which was dancing, has been removed. Okay, so to summarize this pop method, the pop method, one, it removes an item at the end of an array. That is one thing. In fact, let's just do this before the pop method and after the pop method. So let me just console.log here data activity, so that you see that here we had it. Okay, so here this, you can see the array, the original array has 8 items, and the last one is dancing. And if you see here, we console.log the removed item, which is dancing, and then here we also console.log the new data activities, which dancing has been removed. So what you should know is, one, you can access the removed item. It returns the removed item if you save it like that. And two, you can also remove the item, the last item, using that method. Okay, great. So let's continue. So there are very many examples you can try out here. Okay, you can try out all these methods. We have done this, whereby you can console.log the removed item. Okay, now another method is shift method. So if you want to remove the first element, you can use the shift method. The shift method removes the first element and also returns the removed element. So if you want to do the same thing here, like the pop, the opposite of pop is the opposite of the opposite of what? We added the element using which method? The push. So push, the opposite of push is pop, and the opposite of shift and a shift is shift. So if you want to shift or to remove an item, so this one, remove an item from at the end of an array. So at the end of an array, and here we can actually remove an item. So let me first also put here 2 is using the unshift method. So here unshift, no, not unshift, shift method. Shift method. Actually, this shift method used to I used to confuse the shift method. The way it sounds like shifts, it is very easy to understand shift if it was removing, but it is vice versa. The shift method removes an item from an array at the beginning of the array, and then an shift method actually adds an item at the beginning of an array. Okay, so this shift method, we can just say removes an item from the beginning of an array. Removes an item from the beginning, or removes an item at the beginning. I think at the beginning of an array. So you just try it here. So just going to try it here, and say for instance, so you can actually also put in you can just say data activities. So data activities, at this point we can now call the method called shift, and there's also not taking anything. You don't have to pass in anything here in that method. And now let's console.log, not remove the item, but let's just console.log data activities. Okay, so I want to console.log data activities before and after. So this is before here, and I want also to comment out this one. So we have data activities before here, and let's just do console.log data activities after, so that we can just look at the difference. Okay, so you can see that in the first place we have praise. So praise is the first element in this array here, and you can see after doing after removing this item here using the shift method, we have now praise taken off, and we have jogging as the first item. So you can see that the shift method clearly removes an item at the beginning of an array. Okay, so that is great. You can just continue and do that. You can also access the removed item by simply putting like this method inside const removed item or remove the element, and we can also console.log here remove the item, so that you can clearly see that actually praise was done, which was removed from the array. Great, so let's move on. We are doing so well. So how do we copy and clone an array in JavaScript? So this one, it sounds like we don't need to copy an item, but actually most of the times we don't want to work with the original data. So you can imagine you have a database containing all these items, or you're having a database containing the data. You don't want to start manipulating the original data, so you want to first like make a copy of the data and then start using that data, like without worrying if you are going to mess up or to mess with the original data. So it is always good, like you can actually copy and make a shadow copy, or you can make a copy that you can work with instead of working with the original array. And here we use the slice method. I know we looked at the slice method in the arrays, and actually it was doing almost the same thing. It was actually taking part of the string. You could extract part of the string using the slice method, but here the slice method, we are using it actually to make a shadow copy. What it does, it duplicates this stuff. So we already have our salad array, so we could just make a salad copy, and then we see what it gives us. So if we go here, let me just take you here. On top here we have our salad array, which is containing all the salads, the mushroom, the tomatoes, cucumber, cornflower, and other things. So we can just make a shadow copy of this. So let me just go here, and we're just putting here, we can just say cloning or copying an array. Okay, so here we could just say const salad copy, and we could just say is equal to, so you just access the salad, which is the array, and then you run the method, the slice method. So the slice method, it will simply get all the items that are in the salad and puts it in the salad copy. And if we now console.log salad copy, like so, not salam, but salad. So if you console.log salad copy, you see that it is actually the same here. It has all the items that are contained. Let me first take off these other console.logs. So let me just put all these both arrays, the salad array here, and then the salad copy. So you see that exactly they are exactly looking exactly the same. Okay, they are the same, but what is actually amazing is if we asked if they are the same. If you ask, for instance, if you said console.log, let's just try to console.log salad copy. Let's just say console.log salad copy, or salad is equal to salad copy is actually going to return false. Okay, but I guess if you did true, it would give you true at some point. It still gives you false actually. So you can see they tell that this array is not equal to this one, like they are so different. After you have cloned it, this is a very, very different array, and to show you that it is a very different array. So if we came here down and we manipulated the salad array, so let's just say do salad and let's push salad dot, we can push another item. Let's say push, and what am I going to push? Let me push window dot, let me push what? Let me push this one, party popper, like so. So if I push that one, and let's at this point copy here, and let's console.log salad, and we see in fact salad and salad copy again. Let's just put these ones down here. So what you want to see is if this salad and salad copy, if we change in salad, does it change in salad copy, for instance? So you can see that salad itself has 8 items and salad copy has 7 items. So don't think that if you have these items they are the same. After you have made a shallow copy here, let me just actually put also here shallow. We look at what shallow means in the future, but after you have made a shallow copy here, after you've made your copy, or you have got this one, it forgets about the salad itself. Like this is a very, very unique array at this point, and you can manipulate. You see, manipulating the salad, the original one, does not affect the salad copy or the copy that you made from here. And the same thing, if we pushed something different in the salad copy, it would not affect the salad itself. So instead of this salad, let's put salad copy here, and if we push that one, if you console both, you set now this one has an item and 7, the salad original one has nothing to do with it. Okay, yeah, so that is the difference, that if you make the copy, is that the original array is not affected, and they are treated as individually unique arrays. Okay, great. That is great. We are moving on very well. Now there is a concept we call destructuring. So at this point we'll be talking about the destructuring syntax, and it was introduced in ES6 or ECMAScript 6. And in this syntax, you can extract multiple properties from an array and assign them to variables in one go, or in one time run. It is handy to help you keep your source code clean and concise. So the new syntax, this is how it looks like. Okay, so if you don't actually understand what we are trying to say, let me just put here destructuring. So what we mean is, if we wanted the first item, for instance, if you go and see in the salad array, yet the first one is tomato, the second one maybe is the mushroom. So if I wanted to assign these items, I could say const tomato. The tomato is the first item in the salad array. I could say is equal to salad at position 0. Okay, and I would repeat this for all other items, like mushroom. If I wanted the mushroom, I would say it at position 1. So let me just go ahead and console.log these two items, the tomato, and there's no this here, the tomato here, and the mushroom. Okay, so if I do this, it will produce the same things like so. But what we are trying to say, instead of using this syntax, you can actually assign items. Okay, you can actually assign items in this array, and you assign them the variables right away in one line. Okay, so let me go to this one. Instead of writing this one, so let's just use the structuring, and we say late. So you say late, and in the late you simply put a list of your variables. For instance, you start like tomato, okay, comma, mushroom, okay. Let me first put all these ones off. So we have tomato, mushroom. Let me look at others. So we have corn, cucumber. So you could just say corn. Is it corn flour? I don't know. So corn flour. I don't know the spelling. Cucumber. I'm not good at these spellings, guys. Cucumber. And then maize. So you can even stop there, and then you are like is equal to salad, like so, is equal to salad. So if you go ahead and console.log all these items, so let me just say console.log, and let me console.log all these items on the console. So you see now, all these items, they are on the console simply because we just assigned them massively within one line. This is very powerful. At this point, you might not actually say understand it, but the structuring saves a lot of time and makes your code look more clean. Okay, so you can get all the items in an array, and you can assign them to variables in one line. Instead of doing this, you do this. Okay, and this concept is what you call destructuring. Okay, so we'll be of course continuing to practice, so you can see destructuring is very nice. Okay, so we continue here doing the same thing I just did, exactly that one. So another one, a good one, is the spread separator. The spread syntax, not the spread separator. The spread and the rest syntax, but what is most important actually is the spread concept. So it was also brought in year 6. So year 6, they brought in very many things. As we looked in earlier introduction to JavaScript, year 6, more features were brought in during year 6, and one of other features apart from the structuring, as we have seen, is we had the spread syntax, and the spread syntax uses the 3 dots, the dot, and it always appears on the right side of the structuring syntax. Okay, so now what we have already seen, we can use the spread operator to clone. Okay, we can use the spread operator to clone, or, so let me just put here the spread, the normal spread operator, or you can also say the spread syntax. So what I want you to know, the spread syntax is where we use something like these 3 dots, and specifically there are 3 dots, not more, not less. Okay, don't use 2 or use 4 or anything like that. So in the area, what we saw up here is that we made a copy using the slice method. So the slice method is sweet and is nice. It has no problem. Okay, you can, and we're going to be using this method to slice or to add elements in another array. But another alternative, and I think the better alternative, is the spread syntax. Okay, so what you can do is you can say const, okay, just say salads copy, this copied array to make it somehow unique to the one that we had created here up. So this one was salad copy. So here we want to say salad copied array. So instead we use this syntax, brackets, which resembles an array, and we are saying spread all items that are in the salad in here. So this is what it means. It means that go to all the items that are in the salad array and spread them or distribute them into here. So if we just go and we say console.log and salad copied array, like so. So if we now console.log this, we have all the items that we have in the other one. You get? So this is another method, or this is another way you can duplicate, and this one is also very, very powerful. You can easily clone, and the advantage with this one is that you can actually put a comma and add something else. So you just say dot, window dot, and let's add something like weird like this. Is this a cake? So you just add a birthday cake, and look at this. So if we go in the console, you see it maintained all the items from the salad array, but actually added another item. So this is very powerful. If we look at this syntax or this kind of thing, is very powerful. It's very different from this slice method here. You get? It's very different from slice method, because if you did with slice method, you have again to now do the push method, like slide.push, and you add an item. But here right away you can copy the items and go ahead and add your own items right away from here. So this is very powerful. Great. Let's see what we have next in this. If you have not understood this spread syntax, we are going to talk more about the spread syntax as we continue, so you don't have anything to worry about. And the last one is the spread syntax can also help you to merge two arrays. So you can imagine you have here, he has like these two arrays. Let me just copy them, the emotion and the veggies, and then you want to create a new array. So let me just actually copy these 3 lines here. Okay, so we can use the spread. So here I use the spread syntax to clone. Okay, to clone an array. We can use spread syntax to concatenate or join arrays. I think to join arrays like so. So we can just have, for instance, here const emotion let me first see this one here. So you can have, for instance, we have the emotions or emotion, which is having this smiling guy and the sad guy here, and then we have the veggies, which is having some vegetables, corn, maize, and carrot. Okay, Now if we wanted to join these ones, there are very many methods we are going to look at, including the concat method, but the easiest method is actually using the spread operator or the spread syntax. So you say emotion of edges, so this one is combining these two arrays. You spread the first array, comma, spread the second one, and by the way, this one can join many arrays. You can even continue and put here another one, for instance. It's amazing, and it will just add this one. It will add these all these items, and it will continue and add also this item here. You get? So this is really very powerful. So let me just console.log here. So instead of this, cut this and let's put here emotion of edges. And at first, let me first remove this item to show you that actually it is properly working. So emotion of edges. So if I console this to the console, you see that we have 6 items, and it has joined the emotion and the veggies together smoothly like that. So this is how powerful this spread operator is. So if I come and I add another item, like it's amazing, it will be put at the end here, and you can see this is very interesting how this method works, or how this syntax works. So in the future, why I'm teaching this this syntax is that you're going to be using it more often, and you realize even in React. So when we start doing React in the future, you'll find that we are using this syntax, and I want you to get to use it as early as now, how to use this syntax of the spread operator. And that one marks the end of the introduction to arrays. At this point, we are going to look at loops. We are going to look at loops, but I think we are going to do that in the next video, because for sure time, I can see we are out of time and the video is getting more lengthy. So I think we are going to start on the on the loops in the next video. Yeah, I think so. Let's just make this one in this video, so that in the next video we start with the loops. Okay, so thank you so much for following up to this point. If you have reached at this point, this is very nice and very good of you. Congratulations, you are doing so great. If you have watched all the videos in this series, this is the 6th episode. So if you are on the 6th episode at this point, congratulations, and you are doing so well. So, and if you have also not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you check in the description, you will see the link to our WhatsApp group, where you can have the exclusive conversations to the instructor, me myself. You can communicate and talk to me. So at least join the WhatsApp group, or you can ask your question in the comments, so that we can stay in touch and help you become the developer you need to be. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.